This is HBR News number 385. Elizabeth Holmes is sentenced. Veteran offered euthanasia by Canada, where we reflect on the stories of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all this crazy stuff going on in the world, so that it doesn't make you crazy. I am one of your hosts. My name is Brian Martinez, and I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts. Mike is not here. Oh, well, not Mike J. I'm sorry. Dr. Random McCam. And Hannah Wallen. Mike J will hopefully join us a little bit later. We have a great show lineup for you guys this week, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the live chat and in the comment section after the show has ended. On this week's HBR News show, we're going to be talking about the sentencing of Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes. There's a story of a Democrat senator that wants to or tried to weaponize the DOJ and the IRS against his political opponents, and more. So stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So what we're going to be looking at in our patron show is I have this couple stories from the Independent. Well, one from the Independent and one from Jezebel. And I guess I'll show you the Jezebel first, I think. Because it's an amazing title, and I think that, we got to get into it. So this one from Jezebel, published yesterday, reads, Amber Heard's appeal lists 16 ways the court screwed her over in Johnny Depp defamation case. Her attorneys argued that if the ruling stands, it will have a chilling effect on other women who wish to speak about abuse involving powerful men.
Well, maybe them bitches need to chill.
Yeah, I have difficulty believing there are 16 ways that the court, or 15 ways that the court screwed her over. I think there might be 15 ways that she got herself in trouble, but this will be an interesting thing to see. And
it's all 16 of them were ways in which she defamed herself by accidentally saying what she really feels.
Yeah. The worst part about it is, it was her fault that the jury didn't believe her. She made herself as unlikable and really not credible as humanly possible.
And yet, there are still tons of female organizations going to bat for her that have deep pockets and not a small amount of influence. So I think that Jezebel doing this, and you could find things like this with let's say other feminist websites or websites that are very feminist friendly, which is most websites. So this we'll take a look at this in the patron show. Kind of amazing, I think, that we're still, at least that they still want to talk about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case, but I think it's because
it's amazing that Jezebel still exists. They were a subsidiary of Gawker, and even the Hulk couldn't take them down. Hulk, take out another lawsuit and bring down Jezebel, for fuck's sake.
You got to realize, right? When a culture is taken down, they take out the men, and the women find a way to survive. Usually that's joining the new culture. In Jezebel's case, they just rejoined the old culture because it still is prevalent. It's the dominant culture in media. So they were fine. Mm-hmm. They just landed on their feet like a cat and kept right on running.
Yeah, you can look at if you look at go to any Gawker website. So in this case, go to Jezebel, and you look at.
I don't think that'll happen if they start taking us down the way cultures get taken down, the women of our culture, the women of anti-woke culture will be swinging right along with the men.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. So anyway, as I was saying, if you like go to a website like Jezebel, specifically Jezebel, and then you look at the top bar of where they have several other websites that are part of the same network. They're all Gawker websites that should have died when Gawker was supposedly bankrupted. I think that what happened was that it's being kept alive by some other means, and it's just not as powerful as it was, but it still exists. So, for example, if you look at the top of a Jezebel website, you'll see the AV Club, you'll see Gizmodo, Jalopnik, Kotaku, and these websites all still exist, right? The Root, which is like one of the worst. I don't know what the takeout is or Quartz, but you get the idea. There's plenty of other woke websites that are still a part of the same, incestuous family, and that isn't changed by the fact that Gawker is no longer with us. So I guess Hulk Hogan didn't do enough, just like Mike said. But anyway, so that's what we're going to be covering in the Patron Show. If you guys would like to join us on the Patron Show, you have to become a Badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com and setting up a monthly subscription. $5 a month will get you into the Discord, where you will be able to watch all of the additional content. And if you give it higher levels, you might be able to, participate in even more sort of profound ways. So like you could be, a part of the conversation, especially if you want to give your thoughts on whatever article or subject we're discussing. As one example, there's also several events that go on in the Discord. There are game nights, there are movie nights, and it's a lot of fun. So please consider joining the community. Especially now with the winter months coming, and some people just can't get out of the house as much, and it can feel isolating if you don't have people to hang out with, and these are good people. So all right, with that said, one more thing. If you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we've been yeeted from the internet, you should go to badgerfeed.com, that's where all of our content lives, or honeybadgerradio.com. All right. So now let's get into the story. So first, I want to talk about, or at least, introduce Theranos. So I thought that the Theranos story was over, but apparently we're just now learning, relatively recently learning, that the judge, a district judge, proposed Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes be sent to a federal prison camp. Do you guys remember Elizabeth Holmes, I assume? She was the woman who started a company called Theranos, and it turned out to be a scam, and she made shit tons of money, I think, and now she's busted. And I think she was like, well, I don't want to speculate on that, but a district judge proposed Theranos' founder, Elizabeth Holmes, be sent to federal prison camp, court filings show. District Judge Edward Davila recommended for Holmes to be designated to the federal prison camp at Bryan, Texas, according to a November 21 filing. The federal prison camp in Bryan, that's Bryan, is a minimum security prison that houses female inmates. So like a club fed for women that engage in white collar crime. The federal,
it's like a Norwegian prison, where it's not even a prison. It's just a rehabilitation camp where I guess they get to eat sushi and drink wine on tap as well.
Somebody should make a video, I think that would be hilarious, of a woman in a prison like this, and she's showing us her normal day, and it's just like those those videos of women that work at big tech companies where they have like yoga and they have Pilates, and they all get to eat avocado toast, and and they get lattes. I mean, that would be pretty fucking funny. Somebody should do that. Ryan Long, get on it.
Does Pilates sound to anybody else like a disease of the bowel instead of a form of exercise? Because it always has to be. Anytime somebody's, oh yeah, I've been doing Pilates, I always think, oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Do you need something for
wait
that?
a minute, it's actually exercise. Never mind.
That's some guy's name, by the way. It sounds like some kind of muscle, but it's actually named after some dude whose last name is Pilates. Yeah.
Interesting.
Sad though. I wouldn't want my name all over that, but okay.
I had a teacher whose name ended in itis once. We used to say the same thing about him.
Yeah.
Name sounds like a disease.
So District Judge Edward Davila recommended for Holmes to be designated to the federal prison camp at Bryan, Texas, according to a November 21st filing. The federal prison camp in Bryan is a minimum security prison that houses female inmates. The Federal Bureau of Prisons describes prison camps as work and program oriented, and inmates are housed in dormitories. These prisons also have limited or no perimeter fencing. There are at least 7 such prison camps in the United States, according to the Bureau's website. So
apparently they're like university campuses.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
But not quite as draconian.
Yeah, maybe a little more freedom oriented. So
they don't need Title IX because they're already gendered.
It's also worth pointing out that Elizabeth Holmes is pregnant, and that she said essentially before she was sent to the prison, "I am devastated by my failings. I have felt deep pain for what people went through because I failed them." So interesting. She got pregnant. I didn't know that. I wonder if that was like and I don't mean to be so cynical, but I wonder if that's like a last ditch effort to not go to jail. Like,
how long has her hearing been? Has her hearing been going on for more than 9 months? I think it has, hasn't it?
7 years.
Yeah, it's been going on for years.
2015.
And this is the conclusion of it, and she knew this conclusion of it was coming up this year. Like, this isn't something that was a surprise. And there are a multitude of ways to avoid getting pregnant. There are a multitude of ways to control your fertility if you're female, besides the fact that you can say, well, I'm not going to have sex, right? You can do that. You can get your tubes tied. Like, that would be really the best thing to do in her circumstance. Then, you can be on hormonal birth control. There are barrier methods that prevent things from getting through. There is spermicide. There are a multitude of things. There's the morning after pill. There are things that keep implantation from happening after conception. And yet, knowing that she was probably going to go to some sort of incarceration, she got pregnant anyway. Why would you do that to your child? If you love your children, and women, you should be responsible for loving your children before they are born. If you plan to have children, love them before you know them, or you're going to do a shit job getting things ready for them. This is not an environment to bring a child into. Like, what the ever fucking fuck? And yes, I absolutely will judge her for getting pregnant, because she didn't have to. In 2022, she absolutely didn't have to get pregnant. And the only thing I can think is maybe she thought this would reduce her sentence. Look, I'm pregnant. You can't do this to me. And I hope that the judge didn't take that into consideration. And I hope that they don't leave the baby in that situation. Just give custody to the father, because obviously the mother doesn't give a fuck about that child.
All right.
I might be a little bit pissed off right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you finished your pseudo write-up, Brian?
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm going to say some stuff. For those of you who don't know, Theranos was a blood testing startup pitching a supposedly revolutionary technology in blood testing. So this is what I don't know quite what they do, but I suppose it's good to know that it is at least theoretically possible to hold big pharma accountable for anything, or big, I don't know, health, big medical, whatever. Something has to set the wheels in motion to at least try and put the fear of God into these shysters who would rip everyone off in the name of health, in the name of quote unquote saving lives or whatever. That chilling effect that has been put into the general populace regarding free speech, like in every avenue in which it can be instilled, that's not where that chilling effect belongs. Where it does belong is with these bastards who are not just too big to fail, but too ostensibly virtuous to fail. And I'm not just talking about Pfizer and Moderna for no particular reason, YouTube. I'm talking about the likes of the NHS and what have you. If the NHS were ever held to the standards that Theranos is apparently held to, it would be sued into oblivion, never to return. But they can't be held to such standards. And not just because it's an arm of the government, but because the general public trusts them. The only reason the general public trusts them is because the general public listens to the likes of the BBC, another arm of the government. I'm diverting it into my own country's issues. I have every right to do that. But no matter where you live, politicians know we don't trust them. They know that if an idea exists only within the contexts of politicians, the public will be skeptical of that idea. And so the politicians in question, they filter all their ideas through that which people generally do trust. What do people trust? Scientists, especially health professionals. I've lost count of how many people have told me, of course I don't trust the government. They're all a bunch of lies and crooks. Hop, skip, jump. Oh, but of course we have to support the NHS. They do such hard work and they're so unappreciated, and all they're trying to do is save lives. And you're not safe from this phenomenon if you live in a country where without a national health service. Wherever there's some centralized force offering financial incentives, there is the inevitable risk of this corruption. As this story demonstrates, those who cannot resist financial gain are the army of sheep led by the lion who wants total control. So is it any wonder that when the government wants to control people in every aspect of their lives, the way they do it is via some kind of health crisis or via some other kind of science crisis, i.e. the climate? And obviously there are good reasons to trust medical professionals, as and when you as an individual have a complex medical issue that requires some kind of expertise. But that's what makes us so vulnerable to this fog, this deliberate blurring of the lines between science for its own empirical sake and science as a tool of control operated by the powers that be. What are you, a science denier? I hear you cry, and that's the problem. I am a government denier. I am a denier of centralized control. You'll notice you can't use that as a knee-jerk insult, but you can use science denier as a knee-jerk insult. That's how easy it is for an authoritarian state to control you. All they have to do is control the things you do trust, like science, like health, like education. And I suppose it's just a coincidence that what you trust more than anything is the disembodied collective spirit that we call whamens. And women make up most of the workers in the health and education industries. because men have been pushed out of those industries by systemic institutional misandry, compounded by the unthinking elements of the government. There we go. I brought it back to home base. Chew on that, mofos.
That works.
Do your best to swallow it.
Yeah, that works quite well. Thank you for that. And I think, is there anybody else that wants to say anything? Okay. So I have some.
So how long was her sentence?
11
years. Yeah.
11 years, I believe. Yeah. 11 years.
There were some people that were worried that it wasn't going to be very long because her attorneys had asked for something much shorter that was like, nobody's going to give you that. But yeah, 11 years.
11 years and 3 months.
It's not what the guy that was involved got. I think he got a much longer sentence and in a much harsher environment.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I have no doubt.
At least it's worse than what they asked for.
Yeah.
What her attorneys were trying to get.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I got
How long is Anthony Fauci gonna get? If 11 years is the baseline, I want to see Fauci go down for several lifetimes. I want you to keep him alive on a fucking drip for centuries so we can keep fucking torturing him. We can fucking put his head in a sealed chamber with some sandflies.
So, right. So what
I
else?
think Fauci should be tried for mass murder.
Absolutely.
Genocide, no less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So anyway. So I was just gonna. Oh yeah, right. Super chats, super chows, technically, because I don't have any super chats that I know of. I'll have to do. Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't know if I'm. Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I don't get notified, but yeah, it looks like it's not there. So, super chow. Some of these I got yesterday after while we were doing my other show, so I apologize if the context doesn't make a lot of sense. Xerax gives us $5 and says, sounds like it's going to be a slog, but people are going to have to set up their own conventions, maybe pool money to produce prizes for successful campaigns. Just spitballing. I've never done PMP and don't know what is logistically sound. Yeah, that might be a good idea and something we should look into. Maybe we might even know people that can help us with that, right? That maybe they've done organizing. Thank you, Xerax. Egregious Charles gives us $15 and says the word race, as Tolkien used it, inspiring the D&D usage, meant any group that shared characteristics over generations. For example, Francis Bacon said the House of Plantagenet, an English royal family, was, quote, a race much dipped in their own blood, end quote. Not like the other English royal families were a different color, it doesn't mean to moderns what it did then. Yeah, it could just be the way that the words are. And then Charles gives another $5 and says, perhaps we could ask the new people in a game that owes so much to the past to be more tolerant of the past. And then today, we got at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so kind of weird, we got a $15 super chow, and Need More Memes is the person who sent it. And he said, or she, this is a tip for Dr. Randermacam for his appearance on Lotus Eaters and his special segment on International Men's Day. That was a fascinating speech on Wehrman and Withman. Thank you.
That was just me trying to put into 15 minutes what we've been saying for the last 8 years. So
yeah.
Keep tuning into Honey Badger Radio. That's where I got all my ideas from.
And then Meredith G gives us $5 and says HBR News number 385, which is this one. Holmes didn't just get pregnant once after she was arrested, she did it twice.
Jeez.
So, like, what would be even the point of that? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if she had
Why
enough
would you
kids.
put your children in that situation? Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, would she be separated from her children? I would assume so, but then if she has a newborn and she's in prison, like, is she gonna be allowed to breastfeed and that kind of thing?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I know that historically that has been an issue, and I guess women have had there have been nurseries in women's prisons so that women who were imprisoned after getting pregnant could nurse and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if you know you are going to jail, you know you are going to prison, you know you are going to be incarcerated, whatever. It's not if, it's when it's going to happen. That's when you should definitely stop. Like, just don't get pregnant again. You know it's going to happen. You know you're going to be locked up. You know that once your child is a certain age, that child can no longer stay there. And do you really want your infant's first years or first months to be in the prison system? Like, really?
Yeah.
I cannot get over that. People get criticized for getting pregnant when they're not, middle class or higher, as if poverty is some sort of a crime, and
Mm-hmm.
as if poverty equals misery. Um, just for the people who've never been in a low income circumstance, what Americans consider to be poverty is not misery.
Right.
We we don't know true abject poverty here. And in environments where there really is true abject poverty, yeah, pregnancy isn't as easily controlled because you don't have access to everything that we do. But this is a situation where she had everything she needed to control her fertility and failed. This, I cannot stress enough how entitled the act of getting pregnant in this circumstance and how selfish and cruel the act of getting pregnant in this circumstance was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that right there should tell you that she has zero remorse over anything and thinks of nobody but herself.
Mm-hmm. Who is the father? Is it she had like a
I
partner in crime. I thought she was dating that
Yeah, I
guy.
hope it's not him. Because
Yeah,
that
because
kid is fucked.
he's going to jail too, so
Yeah, in which instance that the best thing that could happen to that child would be if the state just took custody and the child was adopted by other people
yeah.
and never found out who his or her parents were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, man. It seems like a messed up situation to me, but what do I know? I'm just some misogynist on the internet. Okay, so let us know what you guys think about this in the comment section. I'm going to move on to the next story after I read y'all's super chats, and if there's any super chows as well. I do think there are. Maybe no. Um, Hold on. I gotta write a note here. All right. So Egregious Charles gives us $2 on YouTube and says, "Yeah, I sent super chows to the recording." Um, and then Q Brother Soulstar gives us $2 and says, "Send her to Guantanamo Bay with BL. I think it's BLM, but it says
That's 8LM. You can't put that on any of us. We're not saying anything about BLM. Black Lives Matter, everyone. They
Yeah.
deserve their mentions.
uh, she sent her to the Guantanamo Bay with 8LM scammers. All right. So thank you guys for the super chats. Now I'm gonna move on to the next story.
Meredith G says it's another man, by the way.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Meredith. I was hoping. I was hoping, And again, like her ex-boyfriend, I think the guy who's going to be going to jail too, he's probably like got some introspection. I mean, yeah, he was in on it. He was a criminal. That makes him scum. But at the same time, if your girlfriend or wife got pregnant with some other dude like so soon, right? I mean, damn, that shows like these hoes ain't loyal. Okay. So next story: Democrat senator tries to pressure the government agencies into targeting conservative groups. Senator
Oh my God, what a nothing burger.
Yeah, I don't see why this is being made into a story.
Old news. Old news.
Yeah, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse tried to use federal agencies such as the Department of Justice and the IRS to act against groups propagating conservative programs, according to documents obtained by the watchdog American Accountability Foundation.
They're a private IRS. They can do what they like.
In a letter sent to IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig on January 19th, White House asked for, and when I say White House, this is the guy's last name. I'm not talking about the White House. I'm talking about Sheldon Whitehouse, which is a pretty cool.
This guy should have.
Pretty cool last name. Pretty cringe first name. So
it's what we call nominative determination. Like if your last name is Baker, you're more likely to become a baker.
There you go.
All right. In a letter sent to IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig on January 19th, White House asked for revoking the tax-exempt status of conservative organization Turning Point USA as the entity held an event at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club without observing social distancing and masking rules, according to the Daily Signal, which received the document. So we have a little COVID shit involved in this, and they're trying to weaponize that against Turning Point USA. Oh, well, they weren't following, the social distancing and masking, which I don't think anyone's been following for years. Unless you're in Canada. Tax-exempt status provides a substantial benefit to charitable organizations and reflects the federal government's endorsement of an organization's activities, White House wrote to the IRS
It does
chief.
not reflect that. It reflects the federal government's assessment that the charity's activities are not that of an organization that is campaigning politically or engaging in other non-charity activities. And I as far as Turning Point is concerned, they have a political perspective, but that doesn't make them a political organization.
Yeah, I guess so. Makes sense. Organizations that knowingly put wait. Tax-exempt status provides a substantial benefit to charitable organizations and reflects the federal government's endorsement of an organization's activities, White House wrote to the IRS chief. Organizations that knowingly put in danger minors entrusted to their care should not enjoy the benefits of tax-exempt status. Accordingly, I urge the IRS to review whether it should revoke Turning Point USA their tax-exempt status. The entity's stated mission is to develop young Americans into conservative leaders. That's, basically it's aimed at young people who are
college students, but they're not minors.
Right. They're in college. I want to say that they may have also spoken at high schools, but they're probably pretty cautious about what it is they promote and say. So,
I could be wrong. Have to be with high schools.
Well, the definition of minors is being raised age-wise, like even college students are being treated like children. At the same time as they're doing that, the age of voting eligibility is being lowered. So you could still be a minor at the age of 21, but you'll be able to vote from the age of 14 or something. That's my prediction as to what's going to happen in the next few years. And given that my estimates are usually conservative at best, it's going to happen in the next few months. You'll see.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, the same guy complained to Reddig Attorney General Merrick Garland and Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen about nonprofits engaging in political activity and reporting it to the Federal Election Commission, but denying such activity with the IRS. He cited a 2012 report by left-leaning ProPublica and a 2022 report by the liberal group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington to back up his claims. Speaking to the Daily Signal, Tom Jones, not the singer, well, I love him, president
or the actor known as Tommy Lee Jones, whose name is Tom Jones.
Yes. President and founder of the American Accountability Foundation, said that White House is taking a spaghetti to the wall approach by going after conservative groups and seeing what sticks. It's simply wrong and abuse of his position. And of course, you know, he has been reached out to for comment and he has not responded. So he's basically just trying to weaponize the state apparatuses in order to shut down and or
conservative.
Conservatives. Yeah,
that's what they're targeting at this point. And you'll notice they're not even trying to resort to such insults as Nazi or fascist or even far right. I remember in the Gamergate days when Arthur Chu phoned a local bar to warn them that there are right wingers organizing in their establishment, and we all laughed at the idea that you could just say right wing as though it means dangerous terrorists. Smash cut to 7 years later, all you need to say is conservative, and that counts as the unmentionables. That's how far the Overton window has shifted. If you're so much as a nanometer to the right of the center line, you need to be shut down and unpersoned. And that's only in relation to where any given communist draws the center line. You might ask, what's next? And you might answer, the next step is demonizing sensible centrists. Like, even centrists are Nazis, but that's not going to happen because the communists we're dealing with think they are centrists. Like I said, they just keep moving the center line further and further to the left. Because no matter how much of an extremist you are, you always think your views are just middle of the road. The kinds of views that everyone should have by default. Everyone should be wearing masks and getting injected with poison, and that's just normal. It's the new normal. Yes, and that's a contradiction in terms, but it still counts as normal because we say so. Yeah, what we're seeing in this story is just a microcosm of what we've discovered or just confirmed over the past weekend about what went on at Twitter 2 years ago and for many years before and after. It's not even just conservatives that are getting demonized and banned. It's anyone who poses even a peripheral threat to the regime of the Democrat Party, aka the regime of the New World Order, aka the regime of total globalist communism. There, I'm sick of not calling it what it is. The Biden administration is just the northwest tip of the iceberg, or the northeast tip of the iceberg, depending on where you orientate yourself in relation to China. Which is
perhaps
just
the north by northwest tip?
The point is, China is the center of the iceberg. The CCP has been bullying people into masking up ever since the SARS outbreak of 2002, and probably long before that. They'll keep demonizing everything to the conceptual right of their agenda, but make no mistake, their ultimate boogeyman is the concept of nations. because nations are what stand between them and globalism. They want to make the entire globe one glorious nation. And at that point, they will be staunch nationalists. And there will be no opposition. There will be no alternative. There will be no competition. And you will know them by their weapons. Their main weapon is surprise, fear and surprise. Their two main weapons are fear and surprise and ruthless efficiency. Their three main weapons are fear, surprise, ruthless efficiency, and an almost fanatical devotion to the Pope. Wait, no, not that one. But rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, praise bounteous, no one expects the Chinese Inquisition.
Some do. One of the points that I will make about this is structure, right? There is nothing in the law related to charitable institutions that says anything about the government endorsing them. The IRS website actually lays out what these are. Tax exemption is owed to an organization, any organization that's organized and operated exclusively for exempt purposes set forth in Section 501c3, and none of its earnings may enter to any private shareholder or individual. So basically, you can't set up a private charity to collect for yourself personally. And it may not be an action organization. It may not attempt to influence legislation, so they can't be a lobbying group as a substantial part of their activities. Can't participate in campaign activity for or against political candidates. So basically, they can't come out and say specifically that they want anyone to get elected or that they want anyone not to get elected. Can't run around and do things like get signatures on petitions. It doesn't mean that they can't hold their activities at any given location. It doesn't mean that politicians can't participate and support them. It means that they can't tell people to vote for particular politicians and so on. Then when it comes down to what is tax exempt, it's got a list. The term charitable is used in its generally accepted legal sense and includes relief of the poor, the distressed, or the underprivileged, advancement of religion, advancement of education or science, erecting or maintaining public buildings, monuments, or works, lessening the burdens of government, lessening neighborhood tensions, eliminating prejudice and discrimination, defending human and civil rights, secured by law, and combating community deterioration. So education is their purpose. They're advancing education, and that is there's no legal reason why the IRS could remove their status for doing something that a politician disapproves. So this was actually Clinton-esque, actually, because the Clintons were accused also of doing this, and when they were accused of doing this, a bunch of files went missing, and one of their cohorts suicided by shooting himself a couple of times in the back of the head, and then got up and went to the woods to bury himself.
Yep. Whoa. Yeah, it's that's something. Okay, so I guess this story is done. I don't think there's anything else we can say about it. So we're gonna move on to the next one. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed and your thoughts on, the I guess, if you want to comment on the leaks that are on Twitter and they're still coming through, yeah, feel free. Let us know what you guys think about that. So, all right, next story. We're gonna go to Canada, and I have a story here that's really, it's related to some stuff that we've brought up before. We've talked about how Canada is now providing euthanasia services to people, and
we covered it when it was men getting euthanized by the government, but now it's women. Everyone else is talking about it.
Yeah. Now everybody else is talking about it. And this is a story about that. So, a Paralympic Army veteran told stunned lawmakers in Canada when she claimed that a government official had offered to give her euthanasia equipment while she was fighting to have a wheelchair lift installed in her home. So, all she wanted was a wheelchair lift so that she can like go up to the second floor and go back down, right, of her home. And she doesn't have any problems, just like functioning in her day-to-day life. And the Canadian government offered her euthanasia. They were like, oh man, that sounds tough. How about dying? Retired Corporal Christine Gauthier, this is the woman, who competed at the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Paralympics, testified on Thursday that the unnamed Veterans Affairs caseworker had offered in writing to provide her with a medically assisted dying device, the CBC reported.
What's a dying device? Normally they do it with injections or chemicals of some sort.
Yeah.
Do they literally mean a suicide booth? Is that what they're talking about? Like in
something
Futurama?
Like that. Yeah, it would inject. It would do the injection for you. The device basically allows you to push the plunger, on your own death machine. And I mean, you think about this. The short version is an individual with a treatable medical condition asked for treatment. Right? They asked for a mobility device. A mobility device is a very simple thing. Right? Even like those stairway things are pretty standard now. Right? So that's just a mobility device. Imagine you go to get your grandfather a walker or a wheelchair or something like that, and they're like, "Well, how about if we just kill him?" Right? And I'm looking at this, and Canada's being open about it. Everybody knows it's happening in Canada because they just called it that. Right? In the United States, what they did was addict people to drugs in place of other treatments that were available for chronic pain conditions. So back in the 80s, if you had a condition that caused widespread chronic pain throughout your body, but there were physical therapies you could get, like massage therapy or acupuncture or any kind of like range of motion therapies and stuff like that.
Right.
Your insurance company would deny you treatment. They could say, well, we're not going to pay for this and you can't get it, but you can have all the opiates that you want. And many, many people ended up on those opiates. And the next thing you know, come in the 90s, they're starting to say, oh, these opiates are getting expensive. These are addictive. This is an addiction. We got to get these people off these drugs. And by, 2022 now, if you have been subject to a chronic health condition for years and years, that causes widespread chronic pain, and they've had you on medication for years and years for widespread chronic pain, all of a sudden they yank all your medicines. But you can have surgery to correct some of the structural causes of these health conditions now, and we'll cover that surgery right in the middle of the COVID crisis when you get COVID when you go to the hospital and pass away. And that's the story of my mother's death.
Oh.
And so in my opinion, my mother was medically murdered. And this is medical murder. When they direct, right, you don't get another choice. You can't go to somebody else. You can't say, well, I'm going to get a different insurance company in Canada. Like my parents, their insurance came through their employer. And our system is pretty much set up so that if you don't get insurance through your employer, it's not affordable. And Obamacare didn't change that. Many people claim it did, but it really didn't. If you were accustomed to getting insurance through your employer and you try to get insurance through the Obamacare system, you discover that it is still significantly more expensive to get it through the Obama, and it still is pretty standard for people who have that insurance to be told what health care they can or cannot have. So it's still a similar system, and it's still kind of socialized. And on top of that, when insurance companies don't want to cover something, they just go get legislators to ban it or to make it illegal to recommend it and things like that, right? So in Canada, what they're doing is turning around now and saying, well, you can't have medical treatment. You're depressed. Okay, well, how about you die? You've got a chronic health condition. Well, how about you die? You're getting older. How about you die? Oh, you're poor. How about you die? And that's going everywhere. You're going to see that expanding to other countries. This is globalism. This is what authoritarian, totalitarian, globalist, collectivist government is.
Yeah, and they can't even use the excuse of overpopulation when it comes to Canada. There's fuck all people in Canada. They've got loads of space, and they can afford to fill it with people for the next few centuries. But it just goes to show you it's nothing to do with overpopulation. It's to do with how much they hate, I guess, the European populations that have filled these various countries, and they're hiding it less and less with each iteration as this so-called progress develops. Remember when kill yourself was just a meme?
Yeah.
It's like the Babylon Bee effect, but on an even wider scale. Actually, I've been doing this since years before the Babylon Bee existed. So I'm finna go ahead and call this Random Accam's razor. Anything that seems like a joke at first will eventually become a dead serious reality espoused by some government somewhere in the world, probably starting with Canada. Counterintuitively, Trudeau's regime is the Chad yes guy. The probability of this inevitably trends towards 1.
Yeah.
I've approached this from multiple sides of the argument. On the one hand, I've quite passionately told people, for fuck's sake, don't kill yourself. The fact that you've even considered such a degree of self-sacrifice means you're exactly the kind of person the world needs to stay alive. Without you, we'll be left with those who would only sacrifice others. And such people are, frankly, cunts. And on the other hand, I've also been known to support every human being's right to take their lives into their own hands. And that includes taking your death into your own hands. Without one, there cannot be the other when you really think about it. Though I don't wish to facilitate suicide on any level, I don't wish to outlaw it either, or to shame anyone for considering it. And by suicide, I mean auto-suicide. You'd think auto would be a redundant prefix there, but a distinction needs to be made. This is not the Canadian government saying kill yourself. It's still very much illegal to kill yourself, to take your life into your own hands. This is the Canadian government saying, come, let us kill you, which creates a distinction between auto-suicide and quote-unquote assisted suicide. More accurately, in this case, coerced suicide. And let's be honest, there's not a great deal of difference between coerced suicide and what we call murder in the first degree. So yeah, to clear up these perhaps contradictory propositions of mine, I'll say this. People should be allowed to take their lives into their own hands. People should be allowed to take their deaths into their own hands. And the government should have precisely fuck all to do with it. How many more examples do you need to experience before you understand? The government fucks up everything it touches. You can't trust them with your free speech. You can't trust them with your health. You can't even trust them with roads. Why in flaming hell would you trust them with anyone's life or death? Perchance, are you opposed to the death penalty for criminals? Then why in 17 Shades of Blue Moons would you not be opposed to the death penalty for non-criminals? You know you don't trust the government, so stop pretending that you do. If you want to kill yourself, just go ahead and blow your own head off with a gun. Oh wait, you're not allowed guns in Canada anymore. Well, that sucks. I guess find yourself some fentanyl. You won't have to go far. You'll find plenty of it on the southern border. Ah, that'll do.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. These people claim the world is overpopulated, and they claim that guns kill people. Like, just at random, I guess. No other people involved in the guns killing people.
Mm-hmm. Even in
but
Canada.
Then they want to ban guns. They want to allow the government to kill people, and they want to make poverty a reason why you should be killed. And they will even point out that most of the people who are killed by guns, not by the people holding the guns, just by guns, are poor. But they still want to ban guns. It's only okay when they do it.
Yep. All right, so there is a little bit more to the story. I thought would put it out there. So retired. Okay, I think I read that part already. I have a letter saying that if you are so desperate, madam, we can offer you maid medical assistance in dying. Miss Gauthier, 52, told she's only 52. She's not even that old. Told a House of Commons Veterans Affairs Committee, according to the CBC. 3 other disabled veterans are also believed to have been offered the same equipment, according to Global News. I don't know what the equipment is, but it's like you guys said. I think it's like some kind of injection. Testifying in French, Ms. Gauthier said she had written to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to express her concerns. Mr. Trudeau said on Friday that the incident was absolutely unacceptable, the CBC reported. And then Trudeau said this about that. We are following up with investigations, and we are changing protocols to ensure what should seem obvious to all of us, that this is not the place of Veterans Affairs Canada, who are supposed to be there to support those people who stepped up to serve their country, to offer them medical assistance in dying. Mr. Trudeau was reported as saying. So he still mentions to offer them medical assistance in dying. But okay, so I think that everyone made what points could be made. But, I mean, this could potentially be really, really bad. It's just like, Mike said, Canada's not even a really high population country. It's actually very, very low population compared to the United States. And it's crazy that, there's this compulsion to lower the population in Canada even more. Because, I can't think of another reason to do this. If someone was all by themselves and they had multiple disabilities, if they wanted to live their life, we should not be haranguing them about it and going over and saying, "Wow, you live, your life kind of sucks. Would you like to leave it all behind?" Oh man, it's just really fucked. So anyway, let us all know what you guys think about this in the comments. I'm gonna read some super chats. So Zeranx gives us $5 and says, "Government is never wrong, Hannah. Take your Prosium." Equilibrium reference. It's a good movie.
It's Prosium.
Yeah, it's Prosium. Yeah, Equilibrium. It's a good movie. Should check it out if you haven't.
How did you feel about that movie? I don't understand the question, sir. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, there you go. I haven't seen it in a while, but it's a good one. It's like some of the other, I don't know, like I guess Christian Bale does this thing. It seems like he wants to like try new things, and in many cases when he does, it turns out really well. So I thought Equilibrium was pretty cool. All right. I got a super chow from Egregious Charles for $5, and he says, "Guns don't kill people. Canadian medical assistance kills people." Yes, yeah. It's ironic that Justin Trudeau is like, coming out to virtue signal about assisted suicide, but he wants to take away everyone's guns. So it's just kind of
because
weird.
you're killing people, and if you don't get your jab, you're killing people. By the way, we're killing people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. We're going to move on to the last story. This one I just thought it was weird based on the headline. European country considers banning electric vehicle travel amid energy crisis. Wait a minute. So Switzerland is considering banning electric vehicles for non-essential travel this winter as the continent deals with an energy crisis sparked by Russia's war in Ukraine. The Telegraph reported that government officials have already drafted plans to conserve energy that could include limiting heat in buildings to no more than 68 degrees Fahrenheit and reducing the number of hours stores can be open. Stricter measures could be enacted, including banning large indoor gatherings such as sporting events, concerts, and theater events, the report said, which is odd because if you're involved in a large indoor gathering, you probably don't need the heat as much because you have the body heat of other people, but okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Switzerland relies heavily on hydroelectric power, which constitutes nearly 2/3 of its energy supply, the excess of which it exports during the time of year that it can generate the most electricity from rain and snowfall, the report said. It then typically is forced to import the energy during the rest of the year as its nuclear resources, which it has been working to phase out, and its fossil fuel resources are not enough to meet demand. So, let me see here. Electric vehicles would face restrictions in the third level of the emergency tier. So there are 3 levels of emergency tiers in terms of like energy crises, I guess. In late August, officials in California unveiled a plan to phase out new gas-powered cars, and days later asked residents to avoid charging their electric vehicles in the interest of not overwhelming the power grid during a heat wave. So that was in California. All right, I'm almost done with this. Hold on. The warnings of low grid capacity came days after the California Air Resources Board requiring 35% of new vehicles to produce zero emissions by 2026, a standard that will rise to a 68% benchmark by 2030 and 100% by 2035. Yet experts have warned that the state's electric grid will require significant upgrades to manage a rapid transition away from internal combustion vehicles. Today, most people charge their electric cars when they come home in the evening, when electricity demand is typically at its peak. I don't know if that's most people, because most people I know don't have electric cars.
I mean, you can't bloody afford them.
Yeah, because they're like crazy expensive. When electricity demand is typically at its peak, according to researchers at Cornell University, if left unmanaged, the power demanded from many electric vehicles charging simultaneously in the evening will amplify existing peak loads, potentially outstripping the grid's current capacity to meet demand. Also, R.I.P. Kirstie Alley. Yeah, so go ahead.
If we had discovered electricity before we discovered oil and gas, and coal, you can bet your ass the so-called progressives would be shouting from the rooftops, oh, hey, this is so much better. There's an almost inexhaustible supply of energy just buried under the earth that no one's using. And we won't need to put third world countries to work digging up all this lithium and whatnot. We'd be telling them, but hydroelectric power is the safest and most sustainable power we've ever discovered. And they'd still be responding, yeah, but that's what we used to do. And it was that's a relic of the past. What do you want to go back to the 50s, you misogynist and so on? Such is the nature of the oikophobic masses we mistakenly refer to as progressives. Economic sustainability doesn't matter. Safety and cleanliness doesn't matter. What matters is what's new, for the sake of being new. Except nuclear power. That's the newest source of power we've discovered, and it would be in any timeline. So yeah, I guess it's not just newness, it's not just novelty. What oikophobia comes down to is not novelty, but control. When you want control, the best vector of domination is to control that which is familiar. Because by its nature, it is necessarily what is already working. Like, if nuclear fusion was finally discovered, like tomorrow, as an energy source, you can bet that these motherfuckers would automatically create a litany of threat narratives around it. Fusion is racist. Fusion is sexist. Fusion is transphobic, homophobic, xenophobic, ableist. Oh, wait, we're in charge of it now. Now that we've smeared all of our competitors out of the market, we can go ahead and confirm that nuclear fusion is perfectly safe and clean and progressive. And you can go ahead and pay us for it at the highest possible price. Because at this point, we're a globalist enterprise and no one else is facing us with any competition. Wait, what? Russia has a fusion program? The Russian nuclear fusion program is dangerous and unclean and racist. You need to sign up for our nuclear fusion program, which we promise is in no way tied to the Chinese Communist Party and in no way is funneling all its profits into China and the New World Order, which is totally not a thing. Shut up, consume product, and get excited for next product. So on and so forth. Ugh.
You know,
Also, don't look at our website and read about the New World Order, because just because we talk about it doesn't mean it exists.
yeah.
Just because we have New World Order in the title of our YouTube video doesn't mean YouTube doesn't need to slap a warning on it saying the New World Order is not a thing.
No, the New World Order doesn't exist. It's just everywhere.
So I never got past this. I saw a video of people who were charging their Teslas. Is that what you call it when you're charging it?
Yeah.
They were charging their Teslas in a gas station because they had a bunch of charge stations there. And there was a guy walking around interviewing people, and he was asking them, like how they feel about having a Tesla or some other electric vehicle and how much good they're doing. And of course, everybody believes that they're doing, the responsible thing and the right thing. And I've already talked about how expensive those cars are and how it's like people don't realize how many normal working class people are excluded by this. I mean, most people, especially with the shape the economy is, most people are still driving used vehicles or used cars. I mean, my car is like, I don't know, maybe 13, 14 years old. And obviously it's combustion engine, And so first of all, that's kind of amazing. But what's even more amazing is when you realize that where you look at where they are getting the energy to charge their batteries, it's still a fossil fuel place. So there's, like the generators that generate the electricity that your Tesla uses is still part of the fossil fuel industry. So it's like people, and I know they don't. Most of them don't know this, because I think that if they did, they'd be like freaking out about it. Um, so that means that they're not even doing anything for the environment like they think they are, because their energy is coming from fossil fuels. It's the same. So it's just being converted differently. Um, Duncan Alexander asked, Brian, wasn't that what Elon Musk's Solar City was for? Well, I guess, but I like, I don't know if everyone's just going to jump on board with that. He puts out a lot of
Look into how
theories.
solar panels are made and what effect
Yeah.
fields of solar panels have on the local environment.
I mean,
And
look.
it does. It's still not necessarily better.
Yeah.
Um, and some of the materials that are used are gathered in very unethical ways.
Mhm.
So there is that as well.
Yeah.
The other thing that I don't see a lot of people considering, and this is something that really should be a primary consideration for people. When you look at electric cars, most of them are made to be uh, used in conjunction with something like Starlink or OnStar or any number of other electronic online components that help control the vehicle and help guide the vehicle, especially the ones that are intended to have some self-driving features. Like these advancements are making the car more and more independent of the driver. And when you think about that, if the vehicle it can be controlled independently of the driver, it can be taken completely out of control of the driver. And that's done now with vehicles when they're stolen, where that type of vehicle, if somebody were to steal that type of vehicle, it can be remotely shut down, it can be remotely locked, where the thief can't get out without breaking the windows.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can't open the doors, and so on. And that only needs to happen, one time with somebody who, they're not being stopped because they stole the vehicle. They're being stopped because they've said something incorrect. Their social credit score doesn't allow them to go into the next county where the hospital is that they're
Mhm.
headed for,
Mhm.
or they're coming to take you away because you've said something incorrect, and you're going to go to a prison camp that isn't for people who defrauded wealthy investors. Um, and you'll find out that maybe these aren't such a great novelty after all. And
Mhm.
I look at stuff like this, not just because of having read dystopian uh, end of the world scenario novels, but because over and over and over again in the lives of the people around me, I have seen government abuse doing damage and harm in their lives. I've
Mhm.
seen people around me have their lives entirely wrecked, hijacked, wrecked, and left in rubble
Mhm.
because of government interference. And with this is just another vehicle for government interference in your life. So I just know, it's not impressive. They would be neat gadgets if there were no government. They would be neat gadgets if there was no totalitarianism. But I'm skeptical of the value of increasing the use of new technology that actually allows the government to hijack your life. And
Yeah.
it's bad enough that they can do that with your phone. It's bad enough they can do that with your computer. You can put those down, right? If you're upset with your phone, if you decide you have to go, like the character did in the Pelican Brief and go into hiding and go on the run and stuff, you can throw your phone away. It would cripple your communication capabilities, but you could do it,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? You
It's
know, you
true.
could same thing with your computer. You can go offline. People do it.
Mm-hmm.
People become homesteaders and stuff. You don't have to have those things in your life. But if you're in the car when it gets taken over, or if you're not worried about your government when a hacker gets into it, you're fucked.
Yep.
You can't put that down. You're inside. Right?
Yep.
So the problem of electric cars isn't just how to power them, right? That's one problem. The problem of electric cars is what kind of power are they going to be in your life?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Carly, I am.
Yeah. Um. Well, I just because the article is talking about essentially banning electric vehicle travel because Switzerland is struggling to meet demands, and because they have like essentially put a lot of their eggs in one basket. It's
Yep,
causing them
they've really
problems.
caused their own energy crisis.
Yeah.
And at the other end of it, we have here in the United States, uh, California is doing it independently of the other states, and the federal government is talking about doing it,
Mm-hmm.
requiring you to use an electric car and not a gas-powered car.
Right.
Yeah, this
Like,
this is why Switzerland can do this, because they're not part of the EU.
yeah,
They've resisted it at every stretch of the development of. So they still have their own laws
Mm-hmm.
in the rest of the EU controlled environment, if you can even call it that. They're sort of bound to whatever the fucking EU tells them to do. But
Mm-hmm.
in Switzerland they can say, hang on, maybe this is a bunch of bullshit. Let's go back to the thing that works. Not even go back. I don't want to call this regression and progression, because this isn't progress. Like forcing everyone to use energy sources that don't fucking work.
how about not straying any further from the path of common sense?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there you go. Let us know what you guys think about this in the comments.
Also,
Uh,
Boda, yes.
and let me just make sure I didn't miss any. I got some super chats and I have a super chow. And a Rumble rant. I'm sorry. So let's start with the Rumble rant. This is from NobaFan. NobaFan21 gives us $1 and says, "Has anything similar to the globalist takeover happened before? I'm guessing the closest is tribal invasions during the past centuries."
It
Well,
happens every time. Every time an empire falls, you've had a couple of commenters saying, "Hannah, are you some kind of?" And she's gone, "Yes, fucking Chad, yes," because because
Yes.
because this is what happens. When governments get out of control, this isn't the first we're seeing of it. This is what happens as a precursor to every empire that's ever fallen, because they get so big and so controlled by their governments that it inevitably collapses. And this is what we're here to try and prevent. Possibly in vain, yes, but at least we're trying to prevent it from happening this time.
yeah. All right. I hope that answers your question, Nova fan. I don't really think I can say anything more to that. Now on YouTube, we got Duncan Alexander gives us 45 czars and says Indonesia banned sex outside of marriage, even for foreigners. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't agree with that personally. But I could see it. Indonesia is a majority Muslim country. I don't know if that matters, if that has anything to do with it. But yeah, I think that this is what they're gonna do. So let us know what you guys think about that in the comments, though. I probably just as easily avoid getting sexually involved with Indonesians, but I'm married, so it's not like I have to worry about that. And Xerinx gives us $10 and says Michael Keller said Switzerland has a new law that intercourse is yes means yes only and requires a contract. Would you like to know more? I swear this stuff used to be fiction. I could look into it just to confirm, but again, it doesn't surprise me. Like, literally, and that's the thing. Like, we're getting to a point now where, they're basically like, oh, uh, we're gonna ban sex outside of marriage in some countries, and I understand why. I understand what their reasoning is, but then in other countries, they're basically saying that men have to get affirmative, ongoing, and enthusiastic consent to have
Yeah,
sex.
it's not sex outside of marriage. It's sex outside of women's say so,
Yeah.
Well, the problem,
which is basically what marriage has always been. It's just it's just being portrayed as different things in different countries, but it's the same throughout everywhere. It's sex doesn't happen unless women say it happens.
the problem with that is that
Which
women's
which
say
which
so is not static.
yeah,
No.
it's and I need to confirm what I'm saying there, because yes, sure, sex doesn't happen unless both parties say so, because otherwise it is rape. But the point is, it's if women say it's only okay if women say so. Whether or not men say so does not matter. A woman can simply rape a man, and it's not rape. It's not even sexual assault. As a matter of fact, he needs to marry her now. Otherwise, he raped her.
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem with women's say so is a woman can change your mind later on, and feminists already support the idea that if a woman initiates a sex act and she leads the entire sex act with her actions, and the guy still asks for permission for every new thing she does to him and gets an enthusiastic, adamant, verbal yes, just like my yes to are you an ANCAP? Yes. Uh, and then later comes back and says, I regret this. I wish I hadn't done it. Then feminists will still deem her a rape victim. And it is to the point where there have been men kicked out of university on rape complaints because while they were passed out unconscious with realistically, literally no agency, they had no ability to take an action to put a stop to what was going on, and were raped by university co-eds, that they've been kicked out for being accused of rape because the co-ed regretted raping him later on, right? So this is a situation where there is no consent. It doesn't happen. It can't happen. It doesn't exist. It can't exist. All heterosexual sex is deemed rape under the enthusiastic consent standard because consent can never be confirmed. If we cannot take women's actions to have meaning, if what women do doesn't matter, and if women are not considered to be in control of what they do, if a woman cannot be judged as having consented to touch a man's dick when she reaches out and grabs it herself, then there can't be any heterosexual sex, and sorry, hetero girls, you're just shit out of luck. And that's really sad, right? You think about it, that destroys the majority of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Not, this is where I say abnormal is not synonymous with bad, but it is abnormal to not be heterosexual.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that if you want to destroy the overwhelming majority of interpersonal partnerships, romantic partnerships in the world, you destroy heterosexuality. I think that's the goal. It's much easier for a totalitarian system to dominate people if they
Mm-hmm.
can't have partnerships with each other.
Yep. That's fair. Okay. think I've read those super chats. I feel like there was one I didn't read though. Thank you for all of your kind donations. And I think that's it. Yeah, I think we're good. So, um, I want to thank you guys for coming on today's show. I want to thank Randomcam and Hannah for coming on. And hopefully, Mike J, wherever you are, you're okay. If you guys like this video, so we're going to head into the patron show right now. And we're going to talk about this Amber Heard article entitled, let me show you, Amber Heard's appeal lists 16 ways the court screwed her over in Johnny Depp defamation case. So we're going to figure out what that's about in the after show. If you want to join us in the after show, go ahead and join us on Honey Badger Radio by becoming a Badger. $5 a month will get you into the Discord where you'll be able to watch all the additional content. And I hope to see you guys there. And there's all kinds of, events and activities and things like that goes on in the Honey Badger Radio Discord. So, you might have a good time. All right. So with that said, if you guys like this video, please smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed. And most importantly, please share this video because sharing is caring. Okay, I did get another super chat, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Xerax gives us $5 and says, if we preempt things by referring to women as children when things like this come up, would it do anything positive? Nah, nope. It'll just make people mad. It'll just make people mad.
Well, here's the problem. If women are children, then all heterosexual sex is pedophilia.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And all sex with children is somehow consensual.
Mm-hmm. And they're already blurring that. They're already using, and you really got to watch for the Mott Bailey there. A good example is pedophiles describe sex as affection, like a hug or a pat on the head. And of course, nobody would deny a child a hug or a pat on the head, right? So then they hide the predatory description of what really is going on behind that. And feminists describe coercive control by women in regard to men's participation in a sex act with a woman as consent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're basically being dominated, you're being abused, you're being gaslighted in regard to your responsibility for your side of the engagement and her responsibility for her side of the engagement, her lack of responsibility for herself and your responsibility for her, right? But that's described as consent. That is a Mott Bailey. Consent is very simple. It is not anything like what they describe. And even that, predatory sex is contravening the other person's control over their actions, not failing to control their actions, not failing to anticipate every little nuance in the future as to how they're going to feel. So yeah, there is no benefit in terms of this conversation to referring to women as children. That said, we may have to go to considering women to be children if this continues, and essentially creating an environment in which women no longer have the right to make their own choices. Going to guardianship a la Islam, if women cannot take responsibility for making their own choices. And I hate to say that because I'm the kind of person that is loath to live under a circumstance like that. But I would rather do that than tolerate an entire half of the population being so profoundly abused by the other half.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Okay, so bear that in mind. I was just finishing up here. I want you guys to share this video because sharing is caring. It's like the really, really important because I think that it other than hitting the like button, which I also want you to do, it seems to be the best way to help us reach more people. So sharing is caring. All right, so thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we will talk to you all in the next video. Have a good one, everybody, and yeah, we'll see you next time very soon.
Handled.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.